He played the game for 15 years.
Yep.
That's his experience.
You know, more interviews for JJ Redick in his future in this potential cycle.
All NBA type player for years.
Agreed.
That's how good Brandon Miller can be.
The Minnesota Timberwolves selected Anthony Edwards over Lamelo Ball with the first pick in the 2020 NBA draft. Some fans were wondering if this was a horrific mistake. The fact that Lamelo Ball won Rookie of the Year over Anthony Edwards further emphasized this point. But so far throughout their young career, there's no question about it. Anthony Edwards has experienced significantly more success than Lamelo Ball has, with his team consistently being on an upward trend. And now there's a huge question about what the Charlotte Hornets must do in order to make the most of Lamelo Ball. And so far it seems like they're scrambling, but their latest idea is so absurd that it just might work. So before we get to the content, make sure you drop like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications as we're on a crusade to get to 1 million subscribers. Now that we get all that out of the way, cue the intro. Over the past few days, we've been dominating on Prize Picks. We've been hitting an NBA, MLB, and we're on a hot streak, making a ton of money while having a lot of fun while doing it. I post my picks for free on Instagram, so you can literally just go copy my picks and just enjoy the game. And right now, Prize Picks will double your deposit match when you use my promo code TheFlightMike when you sign up. Or you can just click on the link in the description down below and sign up for Prize Picks. And thank you, Prize Picks, for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Lamelo Ball has had a very interesting career so far in the NBA, because whenever this young man has been on the basketball court for the Charlotte Hornets, he's been nothing short of amazing. Clearly one of the best playmakers that we've ever seen take the floor. The problem is how often he is able to get on the floor. In his first year in the league, he averaged 15.7 points, 6 assists, and 5.9 rebounds per game. Right when you thought that he couldn't get any better, Lamelo Ball gave us one of his best seasons to date. In year 2, shooting 39% from 3, Lamelo Ball averaged 20 points, 7.6 assists, and 6.7 rebounds per game. The problem wasn't whether or not Lamelo Ball would maintain this statistical output for the foreseeable future. Rather, it was whether or not he could stay healthy enough to stay on the floor. And unfortunately, this seems to be a symptom with all Ball brothers, as his brother Lonzo hasn't seen the basketball court for over 2 years. The Charlotte Hornets have also been doing everything they possibly could to build the best possible team around Lamelo Ball. And just like Lamelo Ball's career, that has yielded mixed results. There's a question about whether or not it's the culture that's holding back the Charlotte Hornets, or whether or not the players that they select are just not talented enough. For example, Malik Monk was a lottery pick with the Charlotte Hornets, spent his first 4 years of his career with the Hornets, but his best season with the Charlotte Hornets was in his last. 11.7 points per game, shooting 43% from the field and 40% from 3. Following this, he would sign a prove-it deal with the Los Angeles Lakers before signing on with the Sacramento Kings, and this past year he put together his best season to date. Why did the Charlotte Hornets move on from Malik Monk? Well, so they could select James Bouknight, a lottery pick that isn't even in the league anymore. But this isn't the only example. Caleb Martin spent his first 2 seasons of his career with the Charlotte Hornets and averaged single digits in points per game. He moved on to the Miami Heat, established a role for himself, and is a key player in their rotation to this day. This past year we've been making videos on Kai Jones, who had all the potential in the world coming out of Texas, until unfortunately he suffered a mental breakdown. The Charlotte Hornets would move on from him, and now he currently signed a multi-year contract with the Los Angeles Clippers. Probably the best example of a player that has all the talent in the world, but has had some trouble off of the court, is none other than Miles Bridges, a player that made a huge leap in the 2021 to 2022 season, averaging 20 points per game before sitting out the 2022 to 23 season due to allegations of DV, before returning this past year and proving once again that his last season in the NBA wasn't a fluke. There's no question about it that the Charlotte Hornets have a tremendous amount of potential. The problem is harnessing this potential to get out of the gutter of the Eastern Conference. playoffs. The good news is throughout all of Lamelo Ball's injuries and all of the miscues that the Charlotte Hornets have suffered, they've been rewarded. And the best example of this is none other than Brandon Miller, who was selected with the #2 overall pick in the 2023 NBA draft. And the best part is, it looks like Brandon Miller was a hit. In his rookie season, Brandon Miller was as good as advertised, averaging 17 points per game, shooting 37% from three, a player that has tremendous two-way potential as well, whose game emulates a young Paul George. But the one problem that the Charlotte Hornets have had consistently is with head coaches. During the beginning of Lamelo Ball's career, the Charlotte Hornets had James Borrego as their head coach. They moved on from James Borrego despite some progress being made during the 2021 to 2022 season for Steve Clifford. Steve Clifford missed the playoffs during the past 2 seasons, and once again, they're looking for a brand new head coach. And it seems like this time they're going to be significantly more aggressive. Before hiring Steve Clifford, they were trying to lock in Kenny Atkinson, a head coach that I believe would have been perfect for this team, one of the best developmental head coaches in the entire NBA. But Kenny Atkinson changed his mind, decided to go back to the Golden State Warriors to be an assistant coach. And now, once again, the Charlotte Hornets seem to have locked in on a brand new target, an individual that has recently had a meteoric rise as a studio analyst. And that man is JJ Redick. Now, I know this sounds insane, so before we even break this down, listen to Shams tell you that this is who the Charlotte Hornets are targeting.
JJ Redick has interviewed for the Charlotte Hornets head coaching job, I'm told. He could have another interview soon as well. He's a serious candidate, as well as Charles Lee, the Celtics assistant coach. But JJ Redick has a strong desire potentially to move into coaching. He's been public about that. Privately, I'm hearing that as well. And this could be, if it's not Charlotte, this could be more more interviews for JJ Redick in his future in this potential cycle. But for now, we'll see where he progresses in Charlotte.
So I know what you're thinking. JJ Redick of all people? Redick has no head coaching experience at all whatsoever. So you're telling me that the Hornets are looking at his hot takes on ESPN and thinking,
Yep, that's our guy.
JJ Redick has been notorious for his takes lately. From the very beginning, when he called one of his ex-teammates a detached teammate after he didn't text a brand new acquisition to the team.
I was his teammate. I can describe him as a detached teammate.
To defending Dillon Brooks after Dillon Brooks patronized LeBron James last year.
And I want to say one thing about Dillon Brooks, because I said this when that report came out. I thought it was bullshit. Everybody spent a month clowning this guy. They clowned him during the Lakers series. They clowned him afterwards. They clowned him after the report came out. I saw all the memes on Twitter and IG about him needing to learn Mandarin because he was going to go play in China. He just signed for $80 million. Sorry for the language, but he just signed for $80 million. He's a good player, valuable player. Said it many times. I'll say it again. I wanted Dillon Brooks on my team. I want a disruptor. I want a guy that's a pest. And I want a guy that can defend at his level. He's an all defensive type player. You need those guys on your team.
But we already have an idea of why the Hornets are targeting JJ Redick. Listen to what Gilbert Arenas has to say about JJ Redick as a head coaching candidate.
He played the game for 15 years.
Yep.
That's his experience. Oh, you know I'm rolling. You know what I mean? But when someone is interviewing and they say, well, he don't have the resume, he has 15 years of a resume. That means he can break down every single player in this league. Mm-hmm. He can break down every scouting report in this league. He can tell you about every ref in this league. He can tell you what arenas has the loud crowd. He can tell you everything that has to do with inside those four lines. Mm-hmm. The only thing he needs to learn is how to see the game this way.
Yep.
That's it.
He's watching it now.
Put great practice playing together, right? Yeah. Break down film and learn and know how to talk to the teammates.
Yep.
Other than that, he knows the most important part of the game. He can look at a player and say, he might not have it today. Okay, he's rolling. Yep. Let me keep an eye on him. He already has that part.
But even more interestingly, Redick already seems to have a plan for Lamelo Ball and Brandon Miller. And it seems like he's been captivated by Lamelo Ball's game as early as his rookie year.
The risk reward value proposition that he takes literally on a play-by-play basis is something to behold. The confidence and the courage to make those plays, it's awesome. It's fun to watch. He's one of my favorite players to watch right now in the NBA.
At this stage of his career, people are thinking that Lamelo Ball just puts up empty stats on a terrible team. But JJ Redick sees past that. He sees a player with the confidence and courage to make plays that the average NBA point guard can't make. And this doesn't only translate to Lamelo Ball. It seems like JJ Redick was planning for this for quite some time, because he also had this to say about Brandon Miller.
I talked to some people in the Hornets organization. It's like, I can see this guy. I can see what I see on the court. What's this guy like? Here's some words thrown around. Smart, great IQ, competitor, coachable, great teammate, detail-oriented as a rookie. Come on, man. Buy this guy's stock. Buy this guy's stock. Because physically he has it. Skill-wise he has it. You have 2 of the 3 boxes checked. If you've got it up here, if you've got it in the mindset, oh my gosh, this guy's going to be an all-star, all-NBA type player for years.
Agreed.
That's how good Brandon Miller can be.
So JJ Redick clearly has a vision for this young Charlotte Hornets team. And on top of everything else, when's the last time you heard of an individual that wants to coach the Charlotte Hornets? I don't think it's a bad gig at all whatsoever, especially if you know what you're doing, but there's so much that could go wrong with this young team. At the same time, the risk is huge. You don't know the type of coach you'd be getting in JJ Redick, but at the end of the day, you cannot deny that 15 years of NBA playing experience can make all the difference. We've seen former NBA players make a crazy jump into coaching before and it yielding great results, like in the case of Phil Jackson or Steve Kerr, or it being a catastrophe, like in the case of Steve Nash. But in the case of JJ Redick, his career mirrors Steve Kerr a lot more than it would mirror Steve Nash. JJ Redick was by no means a superstar in the NBA. He was a high IQ role player that has such a passion for basketball that he made the jump into a studio analyst and currently has 2 podcasts, his own, The Old Man and the Three, and a completely separate one with LeBron James where they pick apart the X's and O's of basketball. So at the end of the day, if the Charlotte Hornets could hire JJ Redick and buy his stock before other teams catch wind of his abilities as a head coach, I say you go for it, because I think this one decision could not only save Lamelo Ball and Brandon Miller, but it could potentially push the Charlotte Hornets into playoff contention and hopefully one day championship contention. Let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys think about all this aside from that. I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.